A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, is an apostate. Having removed his helmet and shown his face to the youngling Grogu, he is now exiled and must seek redemption from the others of the other Mandalorians who walk the way. To seek this redemption, he must bathe in the living waters of Mandalore. But there is a problem. The waters of Mandalore are cursed. It is said that the planet is cursed, poisoned from the Empire's purge. But is it? Din Djarin thinks not. And the quest to the Mines of Mandalore to bathe in the living waters begins in Season 3 of The Mandalorian here on Fake Nerds Watch with myself, Ben Magnet. Along here for this awesome ride on an N1 Starfighter is Ryan Eliopoulos.
Hey, hey!
And the armorer himself, or at least the apprentice of the armor, Sparkz Witty. This is the way.
I don't know if I align with the armorer. Jury's out on that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to be aligned with her to learn the craft, but that works too. And a new person to join to walk the way with us, Forrest. Forrest, how is it going, bud?
He's a foundling.
He's a foundling. Yes, he is a foundling.
I come in peace. Wait a minute.
Wait
a minute.
Yeah, so we are talking about the first 3 episodes of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, which dropped on Disney Plus. Well, it started 3 weeks ago.
Would you like me to name them real quick?
I would love it if you could name them, Sparkz.
Great. It's Chapter 17, The Apostate, directed by Rick Famuyiwa and written by Jon Favreau.
Favs.
And then Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore, which is directed by Rachel Morrison and also written by Jon Favreau.
J Favs.
And then Chapter 19, The Convert, which is directed by Lee Isaac Chung and written by Noah Clore and Jon Favreau.
J Favs.
So, J Favs.
Look at him.
Look at him getting some writing stuff down. So, gentlemen, it's been a while since we've been in the world of The Mandalorian, or as I like to call it, the true Season 3, because we had version 2.5 in the Book of Boba Fett.
I was about to say, when did Boba Fett come out? Because I don't think that was that a year ago?
I was going to say also, wasn't technically the world Star Wars? So we were just there in Andor a little bit ago.
Well, this is like post-Empire, so.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, so what are our general thoughts, general feelings about the first 3 episodes of this season of Mandalorian?
Before I say my thoughts, friend of the show, Brandon, friend of the show, he is the show. Brandon isn't on today's episode. He unfortunately couldn't make it. He will hopefully be on the next episode.
Next time we do Mandalorian, hopefully Brandon will be here.
Yeah. I will say right up front, y'all, despite having things that I really like in each episode, I'm pretty Luke Skywalker warm on this season so far. Maybe I'm a little Andor pilled. Maybe I just don't know what I want the Mandalorian personally to be. I don't know. It's still, it's still fun action figures doing cool stuff. And then there's, Diet Andor thrown at us in episode 3. I'm not going to say like I disliked anything I watched, but like it doesn't hit as hard as it used to so like I need to see where the season goes. But like right now, it's fine. I'm enjoying it. Could be worse. Could really wish it could be better. That's me.
Sparkz or Forrest? I know Emma wants to say.
Yeah, my Emma.
I think I'm more positive than Ryan. I'll be honest. I kind of liked the 3rd episode, and I don't know. Maybe I was set up to think I wouldn't, and now I was like, wait, I thought that was actually all right. I don't know how I feel about like the larger arc of where things are headed, because I'll get into it, because this most recent ending put me into a place where I was like, I didn't think this is where we were going with the story, and now I'm mildly concerned about the general idea of like what the Mandalorian is doing. But I'll get into the specifics of that closer to the end. But overall, like, I think episode 1 is a bust. I just don't like. I don't even know why you'd watch it on a rewatch.
If it didn't have the little Bobby Frick guys, it would almost be like a nothing episode.
And like, I love Carl Weathers, but there was just no reason. There's the reason for the story is just to revisit these characters. It doesn't feel like it's actually telling the story. So that was pretty lukewarm to me.
Luke Skywalker one.
Yeah. But the second and third worked for me much better. I still remain, like many in the camp, that thinks it was a mistake to handle Book of Boba Fett material as though it should be
Required.
absolutely required Mandalorian material to get to this show, to this season. And I think that was a huge mistake. And I think that their lack of confidence in telling a story where Grogu wasn't there 100% of the time has hurt them, to the degree where this season automatically in my brain would have been more fascinating right now if Grogu and Din weren't together and we were building up to it. So their cowardice to pursue that storytelling really disappoints me.
Cowards.
And it always will.
All right.
Forrest?
Overall, I'm still kind of on the fence with it. I think they are laying the groundwork for some pretty cool stuff potentially, but I don't want to say it's directionless because we're still only 3 episodes in, and maybe as a whole, these first 3 might look a little better down the line, but
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it.
Project.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure how I quite feel about it just yet. I definitely think the first episode is pretty damn weak. The second one, I felt like should have been the first. And this third one, I'm still digesting it. But again, I feel like they're setting up some good stuff. But, you know, again, we're 3 episodes in. I feel like we should have a clearer idea of where we're going by now.
Credit where credit's due for Forrest. Him specifically, he said something while we were watching the 3rd episode I just hadn't considered. That made me like go, all right, I'm a little more interested in like what might be going on here, which is that the TIE fighters that we see at the beginning, the interceptors, they're not sent by the Empire, they're sent by Thrawn.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even thought of it. And then when you said it, I was like, okay.
Before you give your thoughts, Ben, I just want to bounce off that. I had that exact feeling because of what we saw in episode 1 with the space whales. Because I know
that's a great point.
They are 100% setting up stuff with Ahsoka. And just like the problem with this, there's only 8 episodes in the season, and we're almost halfway done with the season already. And I'm like, which direction are we going? And again, I shouldn't be questioning, like I shouldn't care about the direction, right? But like it's pulling on so many different threads. I'm like, where is this? Are we going to focus on the Snoke cloning stuff for half a season?
Well, so okay,
like, what are we doing?
So this is also, again, credit where it's due to Forrest. This also put the entire 3rd episode in that lens for me, which is that I also don't think that our bad former Imperial lady is working for the Empire in this moment. I also think she's working for Thrawn. I think this is all Thrawn now. I think that's why we get the TIE setup stuff at the beginning. I think that she is not working for the Empire because if
she
you
got
think about
by Thrawn.
It doesn't make sense how she goes about things in this episode
I agree.
work for the Empire. But if this is a 3rd alternate thing going on with Thrawn into like sneaking himself into the New Republic stuff, that makes a ton of sense to me.
I want to digest on that, but before we do, Ben, how are you feeling about this season?
Well, I share a lot of the same thoughts that you guys have. I want to say I'm kind of in between Ryan and Sparkz on this one, where I like the episodes, but episode 1, upon more deeper reflection upon that, you're absolutely correct. That episode did not need to be there. I like visiting Navarro, but as long as we stayed on Navarro, I was like, we get it. The planet's better now. Let's get. Carl Weathers, his character is dead, but he's a leader now. He runs the planet. It doesn't suck anymore. Cool. That's great.
Also seems a little corrupt. I think the power's going to his head a little bit, and he might not. I'm not saying he's like a bad guy, but it definitely he feels like, that money's going to his head a little bit.
I mean, he was a little crow when we met.
You know what? That's a good point. He was a bounty hunter dude.
I
forgot where he was and now where he's at.
Yeah. I think that's more just who he is. Yeah. But like he defends the school. Like I think he is all about. And I wish the episode had been more about this.
Yeah.
I think he is all about an independent station that exists outside of the New Republic and helps people thrive in the Outer Rim, which is something we've talked about, like has been on the political spectrum in Mandalorian. I really want them to keep going for that the Outer Rim needs support, and now he is a person functionally living in the Outer Rim, creating that support for themselves.
By the people, for the people.
Just like we saw Cobb Vanth do on Tatooine.
I miss him.
Between both season 2 and Book of Boba Fett.
Timothy, come back.
But like it's more of that, and when the story's leaning into that, I really like it.
Yeah.
I just wish this episode had done more with that.
So,
because like you get the shade in episode 3 tossed around at like the Outer Rim. Could you imagine? And keeping that idea, and also like actually doing some stuff about like how the Outer Rim, like people who are thriving on Navarro now saying like, we realize we can just kind of do this and we don't need them.
Yeah.
We don't need them anymore. We don't need the New Republic. We don't need the Empire. We don't need any of it anymore.
We can be independent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also the dude has droids carrying his cape everywhere he goes. That's power right there.
Yeah, they are so tiny. Get bigger droids. Those guys are struggling to get down those stairs. Come on.
Yeah. But I mean, droids and cape aside, everything besides episode 1, I think builds up to some pretty good things. At first, episode 3, I was a little confused because, I mean, you have the opening where they get out of the Mines of Mandalore, the TIE fighters show up, and they blow up Bo-Katan's castle, and then we just cut to the scientist guy, and I'm like, part of me really wanted to go back, but at the same time, I'm like, actually, no, I want to see where this goes. Yeah. I actually thought the girl was still working for the Empire, that she was working for Moff Gideon, that she never lost that thing. But
it's going to be such a bummer if that's actually the case.
I did too, until the end.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what does she gain really by taking this and wiping his mind, like getting him busted?
Yeah.
And why did the New Republic people help her? Like, I have a hard time buying that the Empire has seeped their way into those New Republic positions so easily. But you know who I can buy? Thrawn. 100%. I can buy Thrawn has stuck himself directly into that New
Are you
Republic
telling me that Thrawn is doing a secret invasion in the Star Wars universe?
Yes, that is what I'm suggesting might be happening. And like, I'm careful about getting too amped about that. But
we know that's on the horizon.
But here's the thing,
how much are they going to do in this season is the question.
Her motivations in this episode, I really want to talk about the previous episodes before we focus too much on 3, but her motivations in the episode, once you get to the end, don't make sense to me.
Yes.
If she's working for Gideon, if she's working for the Empire.
Yeah.
But they make way more sense to me if you tell me she's working for Thrawn.
I think let's save episode 3, because I think honestly episodes 1 and 2, I don't think there's a lot to talk about, but like episode 3 is the meaty one. I just love episode 2 because it has a cool cyborg monster in it. That's just a great. That's what I now realize 3 seasons in. I just wish The Mandalorian were like an anthology show where it's just a Mandalorian doing one-off things. And like, that's what the first 2 seasons were doing, but they were also building up to bigger things. And I feel like every season, it's just getting slowly bigger. And so it's just, The Mandalorian is just in big mode now. It's only in big mode now. So I love that we got the second episode where he's just like captured by like a weird General Grievous monster. Like, I just wish that was the whole show, honestly.
I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
To finish my thoughts on the episode, especially episode 3, I mean, we'll talk about it more later down the line. I'm looking forward to it, but I love the ending. I love what the ending insinuates. Because the title of it is called The Convert, and the whole time you're thinking the convert is the scientist. No, it's not.
All of these titles can be for multiple characters. Because like the Apostate, like the one you just
Bo-Katan.
Said. Yeah, Bo-Katan, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to talk about that, Ben, because I think I'm the polar opposite of you about this. Okay. Real quick, let's focus. Episode 1. I cannot believe there's a recap and they don't touch on a single god darn thing about Grogu and Din getting back together in Book of Boba Fett. Like, it's not even there. Sorry, punks. If you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, you lost.
I don't know what I prefer. That they don't even acknowledge it, or they spend extra time going, these people didn't watch the show, so we have to spend half the episode explaining.
Like, I bare minimum, like, just show the part where Grogu leapt back into his arms and they were together again.
I agree.
Like, I can't believe that it wasn't even, Grogu's not in that recap whatsoever in the first episode.
If you're an average viewer and you're sitting at home watching The Mandalorian for the first time and it's auto playing from season 2 to 3, you're going to be so confused.
Right. Like consider that you are that person and you are just totally out of the loop. You really had no idea. And you don't even get the hint.
Yeah.
By the way, bro, you might want to go watch Book of Boba Fett. Now, there is stuff with Din and the Armorer that's from Book of Boba Fett, but I can easily see a person being like, I must have just forgotten that conversation in season 2.
Because it all looks the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like, but you don't put Grogu in that recap at all.
And I love
wild.
I love that like the recap that we do get in the episode is like it's why it's like Keith Cargo?
Yeah.
Keith Cargo?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Carl Weathers, he is the audience surrogate for people who didn't watch Boba Fett. That's what he's there for. He's
it's
like
complicated.
He's like, wait, why you got the kid? Mission's complete. He's just with me now. Sure, whatever. He's a kid. His name's Grogu. Yeah, sure, whatever. Who cares?
He literally
that's Boba Fett
like,
for you.
He's literally like, it's complicated.
Yeah, and I'm like, cool, cool. That's cool, I guess. I mean, I watched Boba Fett. Maybe I shouldn't have, but you know. No, there's some good stuff in there. There's some cool. No, I don't like that. What am I saying? I don't like this.
The Mandalorian stuff in there's good.
The Mandalorian stuff is great. Speaking of the Mandalorian, that's what we're watching.
So the opening, it worked on me. Really faked me out. I thought we were seeing young
flashback.
Din. Yeah, I thought it was a young Din flashback till Mando came out.
I think that's like the
but
yeah.
But I'm really kind of glad it was, because also what I thought before we see the little boy is that I thought what she was, and now because I know it is in the present, I do think this is what it is. It's the Beskar spear that he gave her.
I thought she melted it down.
Right, yeah, she's melting it down to make this helmet. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay, sure.
Is that she melted it down and made this helmet?
No, I thought she made the Mithril. She made Grogu's.
Oh, yeah, she did do that, didn't
she? Yeah.
Man, I guess I need to rewatch Book of Boba Fett.
No,
not all of it.
Just the 2 good episodes.
Just the 2.
It's not in the recap.
No, it is. It did pretty much. I think that is like intentional. Be like this could be Din without knowing it.
Oh yeah, I think that was very intentional.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to make you think.
Also, that kid, it's Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. Look at that.
You know,
hell yeah, good for that kid.
Rewriting around some of the Boba Fett stuff in those 2 Mandalorian episodes in that series, that would have been an amazing first episode for season 3. Just in my head, the way it would play out.
Yeah,
I don't know how you rewrite all around that stuff.
I still just think like
it's done.
After Mando season 2, like they knew they screwed up. They're like, I can't believe we got rid of the kid. We need the kid back. Let's just do it in Boba Fett. Screw Boba Fett.
Gotta sell more hot toys.
Gotta sell more hot toys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I completely agree, because once again, I've talked about this when we did our FNW of Boba Fett, and I will still say it today. Boba Fett should be about Boba Fett, not Mandalorian 2.5. Those episodes of The Mandalorian were great. I love those episodes about The Mandalorian, but like Sparkz said, there's no recap of it. We don't know what's happened. We don't see any of it. And even then, like, I mean, yes, I've watched it, so I know, but at the same time, some, like Forrest said, some newbie could have this on autoplay, and you go from season 2 to season 3, and it's like, how come there's something shiny on Grogu's shirt? How did he get that?
Yeah, that's the detail they'll notice. Not, oh, he's back. They'll be like, why has he got this thing?
It is the unfortunate like Marvelization of Star Wars, and it's not as big as what Marvel does, but it is a thing of like you have to watch the previous thing, even if you didn't want to watch it. Like to be caught up, you have to watch everything.
Here's the other thing. Book of Boba Fett just should have been called The Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah.
Like that's just where we should have been.
Honestly, you call it Mandalorian : Boba Fett, I'd still be happy.
Yeah.
That would just like, because it feels like just like a spin-off of Mandalorian. Like we know what it is. Anyway, let's talk about the episode we're actually talking about. The Babu Frick Boy show up. Oh, stupid IG-11. Is it IG-11?
I think it's
IG-11.
No, because 88's a famous one. Taika Waititi's is IG-11.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the reverse.
No. IG-88 is the famous one. That's because he's with Forlom and Boba Fett and Bosk. You know, my bounty hunter boys.
I have those numbers reversed.
IG Taika Waititi. He's dead and he's a statue. That's horrible. That's horrible.
They used his parts to help build him a statue.
That's horrible. And I know people don't think droids are people, but some people do. It's crazy to me that we spend some of this episode like, all right, I need a droid because I got to go to the Mines of the Mines of Mandalore. I was about to say the Mines of Moria, because it's all toxic and shit. I need a droid I can trust, and I hate droids. He's the only droid I can trust, but he's dead. So I'm gonna go and rebuild him. So we spend this episode going to go get his body, going to go find droid parts for him. The next episode we go and visit Peli. I think her name's Peli.
Yeah.
The droid lady on Tatooine. and then we end up not even getting IG-11 at all.
Because they say like basically we get to that episode and it's like, yeah, you can't get that part. You can take this other droid though.
And I'm just like, so what was the point?
The droid that broke on Uncle Owen.
Yeah, that is a famous droid.
Is that the same droid?
Yeah,
R5. It's implied to be, yeah.
Oh man.
I definitely
the same model for sure. Yeah.
I just
because she got it from the Jawas and
that's right.
I just found it really baffling. Like I thought. Oh cool, like Taika's gonna come back, that's cool. And like I do think it is a good scene of like when he's brought back to life and he's back in reprogram mode and he starts killing, like that's fun.
But it's also traumatic for Grogu, and it's like, what was this for? Man?
Exactly. And
do we really need to do this, or could you just not trust another droid?
And then it amounts to nothing, and he just takes a random droid anyway. And I'm like, what was the point of any of this?
I think the other part about it is like I was like, man, I guess like you can't like pressurize your suit enough that you could go just check the atmosphere yourself. And then he does. And I was like, this whole droid thing.
It's so,
man.
Because I watched it twice, like the second episode. And when he's like, all right, I'm going to pressurize my helmet. And like, he opens a cockpit and you just hear his helmet pressurize. And I'm like, oh, so it's just like automatic? He doesn't press a button? It just happens? So why isn't it always just pressurized? And I'm just like, I'm thinking too hard about this stuff.
He doesn't like the breathing. He doesn't like the breathing sound.
I like the breathing.
Make
sound.
You crazy.
Feels like Darth Vader. That's just a silly pick. That doesn't really matter. Man, yeah, this first episode, it's just I didn't really care for it, except for the Babu Fricks.
Everything up until we get to Mandalore just feels like a bunch of fetch quests that are unnecessary because you get to the end and it's like, he's just gonna do it himself. Like
yeah.
I like sorry, Jon Favreau. I don't think you really thought about what was going on here.
This was it's speculation and rumor, but like this apparently was supposed to be like a one big episode, and I think it should have been. I think like
getting all the way to Mandalore,
doing all this. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. I think it's really cute and brave of Grogu to know the navigation because Din's teaching it to him and go all the way back in the ship to the planet to go get Bo-Katan. I think that's all really cute and everything.
Sure.
Because we've already wasted a bunch of time on all this droid crap, I also sat there and was like, Bo-Katan could have just gone with him at the end of the previous episode, just like made a story reason why she decides to just go, and then she and Grogu don't get caught, and then you do the same thing, but quicker.
It sparks, but then we wouldn't get 3 different scenes of her sitting in that chair different ways. 3 different scenes of her sitting in the throne room, empty and alone.
I have a really big problem with coming out of the end of season 2 where we left Bo and getting to here.
Oh my god!
And that's all she does now is sit in a throne.
Yeah,
Bo-Katan.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's not who she is.
And again, what happens?
That's like Leia being like, you know what? We beat the Empire. I think I'm just gonna sit in this chair in the Senate and never move.
I'm just gonna retire.
Get out of here. That really bothered me. I was like, this is such a mischaracterization of the person we know from Clone Wars.
It is.
She would never just be like, even if she lost her group, I'm not saying she would necessarily be like just nose diving towards the same goal.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't just be sitting on a chair.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, when
it felt like we just wanted to visually set up the imagery of it and get the trailer pools and be like, look at her sitting on her throne. It feels like it serves no other purpose. It doesn't fit the character whatsoever. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I mean, it just seems like she was kind of stalking there. I mean, when we see her last, she obviously wants that Darksaber.
But the implication, if you buy even kind of Jon Favreau's timeline, but even if you don't, I grant them it's been at least 6 or 7 months since the end of season 2. Is that this is what she's been doing for 2 years?
Jon Favreau corrected. It is real time. How long? So however long time has passed since season 2, that's how long real time has passed. So if it's been however long a year and a half has passed, that's how long it's been.
Right. So you're telling me that Bo-Katan has been sitting there for a year and a half?
Yes.
Get out of here.
That's why the Favreau stuff, he's got to stop talking about timelines.
Also, going back to that same idea, the notion that Grogu trained with Luke for that amount of time for us to pick up in that episode. No. That's where they were at. Nope. Sorry. Pass. Yeah. That's not real. It was not a year of training with Luke.
No way, Jose.
No freaking way was Grogu with Luke for a year.
Yeah, we're just talking about bad timelines, Ben. how timelines all line up.
And specifically in terms of how for Bo-Katan, the implication is that she sat on a throne for 1.5 years and did nothing. And I'm like, get the F out of here. She's been not that character.
She's been on that throne since season 2 of Mandalorian. Since the end of that show.
Just sulking.
Just sulking.
Much. They were like, wow, really great job getting this Imperial starship to help us achieve our goal. What? You lost the Darksaber? Get out of here. You're not the leader anymore.
And like,
we're going to go be mercenaries.
And I understand, like, I see the point of what the season's doing. It's like they're going to try to unify all the Mandalorians together. Like, I get that. That's why the Mythosaur is introduced. Like, they're doing all of this like lore building for Mandalore. Like, we're going to rise as a new Mandalore is going to happen in the Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
Whether that's Bo leading or Din leading, like
or the armor.
Or I don't think the armor is a big enough character. Like, she's been in the show, but she's not a big enough character to like become the main villain. Like, she needs to be so much more present.
Here's the thing. She is, as the show has given us, the leader of their group.
Yes.
The leader of the Watch. So if Bo-Katan becomes part of it, Armor is still the person who like defines the creed. Everybody listens to the Armor about what the creed is. And I still remain like hopeful and confident that it is not a mistake that she has Darth Maul's horn still on her helmet.
Yeah.
Like she is, we'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I do think that the Armor is still like, even if she doesn't become the person leading like actions and everything, she is the person who determines the word of the creed.
That being true, I feel like we don't see her enough for me to feel like she's their leader. I feel like we see the other, like we see like Paz more, or like these other.
We're seeing her in increasing.
Yes, and I hope we see more of her if they're going to give her that significant of like a role. Like, I feel like I need to see more of her on screen because I just don't feel her impact as a leader right now.
Well, I didn't either until now in this season.
Okay.
Because previously we saw her with a group of like 5 or 1.
Yes.
Now we see her with like 25.
Yes.
And everybody listens to what she says.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so now I'm like, you're the person who's maybe in charge of this as far as like, and I'm not even saying necessarily that that's 100% malicious at this point.
Yeah.
But whatever she says goes.
Yeah. She's the leader. Yeah.
Now, what she says is all in terms with what everyone agrees their creed is. Mm-hmm. So that's fine. But if she says something is true to the creed, it's true to the creed.
Yeah. A lot of that fun stuff happens in like episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So like episode 1 is like, it's mostly set up, hey, did you just Boba Fett? Grogu's back, baby. We got to go to Mandalore because he's an apostate. And he's a bad boy.
I do like the exploration of the system around Mandalore, like knowing that there was a moon that's
Concordia.
That's where Din was, and then Kavala is where Bo-Katan has been placing herself,
her empty castle,
unable to go back to Mandalore.
Yeah.
I think it's just nice to have those things like illustrate. I do really like that it was a thing where he's like, this is what's important about being a Mandalorian, Grogu. You need to know these things, and like tying that into Grogu knowing navigation well enough to get back. Like, I like it. I do like it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Real quick. Go ahead, man.
That part I totally like. I'm going back on the whole timeline thing. When because I did hear about that. Sure, John. Sure. I mean, time is wonky in Star Wars. They don't really say anything about it. I just learned to go with the flow. What happens on screen. It could be days, could be years, whatever. But
that's funny because it definitely depends where you look, because like people definitely are. Especially books and comics are keeping very specific track of where timelines are.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I'm more just like vibes. Like, yeah, like they were gone and now they're back together. Like, don't give me concrete. Don't give me a concrete like 7 months.
Grogu trained with Luke for an amount of time is much better than Grogu trained with Luke for a year, and I'm like, that didn't look like a year to me, buddy.
I don't believe you.
Luke looked like he still hadn't totally learned how to talk to Grogu.
Yeah. Grogu was already doing like easy force shit when he was meeting Luke. Like, are you telling me a year he's just flipping? That's all he learns, flipping?
Mando seems like he literally went on one single adventure since he lost Grogu.
He went on a weekend with the other Mandos, dad vacation. They go to Mandalore. They don't get IG-11 because he's then gone, and they can't find a memory unit or whatever. So they get Pele's R5 unit. She try to scam Mando in this one too, just like she scammed.
She does scam him.
No, she scams him to take R5. She scams a Trans-Ocean,
which is a shitty unit.
It's got a bad motivator.
Yeah.
She's also, I do like this. She's pulling heists with the Jawas on rich people who are coming for the Boonta Eve pod race.
Yeah, I love that.
Super, super good detail. I thought that was a lot of fun.
I do believe, I don't remember it specifically, but the Ringerverse mentioned it, that she also pulled a stunt like that in Boba Fett. I just don't remember what exactly it was. But she's like scamming people all the time. I'm like, hell yeah, get that money, girl. Get those credits. Or what is it? Credits? Is that what it is?
Credits.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's funny because like she's obviously very friendly with Mando, but she's not above like cutting him a bad deal.
Yeah.
She's the one that got on the ship, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, she helped him. Yeah. She helped him build.
It was
in
bad shape, but like
she was giving him the N1 when it was a piece of crap, and then he got the pieces to fix it up, and she helped him do that. But she gave him the base N1 when it was junk.
That's true. Yeah. Oh no! It's a fast ship. I promise. It just needs
very fast. It just needs a lot of work.
It is.
And now it's a very fast ship.
Speaking of like the visuals in this season they're great.
I do want to go back to episode 1 and talk about the pirates. I like the pirates.
Oh yeah, the pirates are cool. Swamp Thing, hell yeah, baby.
Both Captain Swamp Thing and his
Veil,
his main underling Veil, looks very good.
That's a Hondo Anaka guy.
Yeah,
but
one of his species.
One of his species, and we don't get to see them in live action very often, so that's pretty cool.
I do hope that pirate stuff comes back around. I'm sure it will.
See, that's what I mean. Like, there's so many threads in this like 8-episode season. I'm like, is this a setup for like people are also heavy speculating that like a lot of this shit is leftovers from Rangers of the New Republic.
Oh, sure.
Specifically the stuff with Coruscant in episode 3. With her.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because of Imperial stuff in Coruscant.
No, sure.
And
I get you.
Specifically Moff Gideon and like what's that dude doing? Now that's all obviously speculation, but like I could see how that how that would work out. But anyway, yeah. We go to Mandalore. I love episode 2 just because it's got dudes in suits and it's got a giant cyborg monster. That's why I like it.
I agree with Ryan about that stuff. I'm going to jump back again real quick.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say in episode 1 when I remembered the pirate stuff, I also really like the space fight. That part I really like. The dogfight with the other pirate ships where he hides behind the meteors and pulls out on them. He's just too dang fast.
Multiple.
I really like it.
Good dogfights in the season.
Yeah. The visuals are great for it. They really make that an N1 maneuver in a cool way, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to see the N1 do what it does, considering it is a ship that is not meant to travel through hyperspace. It's supposed to, like TIE fighters, have to dock on a larger ship, but this N1 can just like rip on through.
And it just looks like a muscle car. Like I love that the engine sticks out of it like an old school American muscle car. That is such a cool. Like I've never seen that in Star Wars. Great ship design. I love little Grogu. Oh, sorry, we have to talk about the space whales.
Yes.
I forget. They're called like Purgles or they're space whales.
I forget their name.
They're from one of my favorite Star Wars things. No, it is my favorite Star Wars thing.
Have you seen Rebels? Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
God.
I lost my shit when I saw those.
Yeah.
So that's the second I saw them. I'm like, oh yeah, Thrawn's coming. And they would not. Those two things are so intrinsically tied together.
Yes.
Because the last time you saw those things is when you saw Thrawn.
Right.
And that can mean so many things. That can mean like if we're doing weird like Ant-Man Quantumania stuff is like you seeing them outside means that like they're arriving at a different time or a different, something crazy, or are they showing up at the exact same time this is happening?
Well, we just know like, what they were is that they can travel through the hyperspace. Like it's what
it's not, sorry, they're not time travelers.
Is it directly or indirectly stated that like all of the galaxy learned hyperspace travel from them, didn't they?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in Rebels that like they are the origin of it is what they explained to us, and I think that the main reason that they're showing up in this bit with Grogu for people like my wife to get their attention, to get them thinking about these space whales that are traveling at the same speed as the ship, is just so that when we do get to Thrawn later and they have to explain, well, this is why Thrawn existed back then, and then jump to here and hasn't aged, is so that they can have the space whales built in.
Purgils.
The Purgils.
Yeah, seeing that again, like episode 1, like I can leave it in the trash, but like seeing those things, I was like, oh shit, like that is. I love Rebels, and like that Thrawn stuff is so good, and like seeing those characters, like we know Ahsoka's happening, so like if they're. I just wish the Mandalorian could maybe just be the Mandalorian, but if you want to do setup stuff for this, I'm not going to hate it because again, Thrawn is like one of my favorite dudes, and Rebels is my favorite Star Wars thing. So like, It's just like we got pirate stuff, we got Thrawn stuff, we got clone stuff, we got Coruscant stuff. Like we got so many threads in this 8-episode season. Like, where are we going? Which one are we gonna pull on next episode?
Got Mythosaur.
We got a Mythosaur. Like, definitely Bo-Katan's riding the shit out of that guy. Like, right? Like that's Chekhov's Mythosaur. Like, if we don't see that thing again, I'm gonna be pissed. Like, why would you show that? Like,
I'm sure we'll see it again. I'm not gonna say we'll definitely see it again in season 3.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah, but I'm sure we'll see it again. It's not the last time we see it.
Oh, she riding it.
So in episode 2, once we get that really weird cybernetic eye Borg thing,
so cool,
taking the blood out of Mando,
and like
some horror films.
It's like his like spinal fluid, because there's like a white liquid being dripped too, and I'm like, that dude's getting messed up. Oh man,
some real like slasher film vibes.
I loved it. Like,
man,
so like again, like the first part of the episode where Mando comes to Mandalore, and he's just like walking around, and it's slow, and I'm like, I think the pacing is kind of like, this is taking its time. Like, I don't think the episode's about to get really cool, so I'm just like, I'm kind of bored. He's walking around Mines, checking it out
real fast. Just when he's like seeing the inside of the city and everything, I was like, oh damn, that does look like Clone Wars.
Yeah, it is.
Which like great.
It is cool.
I'm glad that they are consistent in the style, and like I'll be honest, I was somewhat nervous. I don't know why, but I was just always nervous. Like, we're gonna get to a live action Mandalore, and they're gonna like have destroyed it enough that we're not really gonna see anything
to recognize it
of what we saw of Mandalore and Clone Wars. Like, they're not going to look the same. And kudos to them. I was like, oh no, I've seen this kind of architecture in Mandalore and Clone Wars. Like,
when Bo-Katan is flying over, like she sees like the domes and stuff, and I'm like, I've seen, that's awesome. Like, I mean, it looks awful. Like, I'm sorry for your loss, but like, man, the
Empire did a number on that planet. Yeah, I'm so glad to find.
Oh yeah.
So Alamites. We get some dudes in suits.
Yeah.
They got 4 eyes. They're radioactive. We also radioactive crocodile dragons. A+, man. Give me that every episode, please. I love it. So Mando gets captured by
Phil Tippett's cyborg for Star Wars.
Yeah, mad god of Star Wars. This tiny little like cyborg creature who can like he basically like mechs into other mechs. He's a mech who mechs other mechs. He's Mechatui. His design is radical. Like the fact that he was just a robot, but then you see his eyeball. It's like, oh shit, that's a living organism. I love it. Like, I thought it was so cool. It was so well designed. It was really scary. I love seeing. Well, I seen Grogu in distress. It's like, oh, little baby, no. And then like, go get Bo-Katan. I love that stuff. It's all great. Again, like this whole section, no problems with this. It's just a fun action adventure. Her fight with that cyborg, incredible. She's doing shit. She got the blade back. Now I would say you earned that blade then, Bo-Katan. But I understand you want to fight to win it. I understand you got a creed.
You got to earn it in combat.
You got to earn it in combat.
Technically, she just picked it up off the ground.
I know. I'm just saying I would have been petty and like.
I'm surprised she hasn't challenged him yet for the blade. That there's all that time between like the second and third season.
God. Thank you for So when Grogu comes like to save, I was about to call him Pedro, Jesus, to save Mando, and she's like, I'm gonna tell him one last time, I never want to see him again. So like, is she just giving up on the Darksaber?
Well, I think part of it is because he tries to give it to her at the end of season 2.
Yeah,
she says it has to be earned in combat, and
why didn't she challenge?
I think she knows that if she challenges him, he's just going to give it.
Oh, he doesn't want to fight.
He's not going to honor the combat because he doesn't want to fight her.
So then what do you do in that? Like, what does she do?
It's a tricky situation.
Like, I mean, it complicates things more because she also, I was surprised, didn't say anything about seeing the Mythosaur. Nothing. Which was kind of weird. I mean, I'm still processing that episode.
Also, you're telling me Din fell hundreds of, maybe like 1,000 feet, and the Mythosaur was not involved whatsoever. That dude just fell all the way to the bottom of the city, and the Mythosaur was not involved. Well, he didn't even see it.
I mean, that was kind of. I mean, I'm not going to get into the physics of it.
She almost missed it too. She only sees it because its eye is opening and it's starting.
I just can't believe that dude fell. That's what I thought it was the Mythosaur that grabbed him and chose him.
I thought that too.
Until the next episode, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, he just fell. He actually just fell.
Yeah, he's really fast too. She jumped in straight after him, and we didn't see a peep of it.
Bro, he fell like man. Like, what's the heaviest thing on the? Well, I guess maybe
he's wearing heavy duty Beskar armor.
Yeah, but
he didn't know, and he didn't have his jetpack, and he just sunk like a rock.
He took a. It clearly looks Like he didn't just miss a step. It clearly looks like he was grabbed and
It looked
drugged
like-
under.
Yes, I thought it looked like he got yanked 100%.
I thought like it was the mythosaur that dragged him under. I was wholly expecting like some other creatures living in the waters under Mandalore that are like, oh yay, food, joink.
Yeah,
as soon as he got in the water, I'm like, there something is gonna grab him, but no.
And then when she pulls
trouble again,
and then when Bo-Katan sees the giant mythosaur, it goes, oh my god, that's that. There it is, because she was kind of like mockingly reading the plaque about how this is. The living waters, the first Mandalore tamed a mythosaur, and this mythosaur that used this as his lair, and the skull became the sigil of all the Mandalorians, yada yada yada. But still, it's just like the dude was out. You could say he fell. Dude was drugged. The dude was grabbed and pulled.
I'm just like if the intent of the scene was to like he did fall and he actually didn't see anything, I don't think you filmed it that way. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
That dude looks like he got yanked by a Hollywood line into the water. I've seen that stuff before.
I feel like this is probably just going to turn into one of those great Star Wars debates, like who
shot first?
Yeah.
Did he get dragged or what? Did he just fall?
Did he just fall? But it does again. I think this just goes back how I'm feeling about this whole season so far. It needs direction. Like the first 2 seasons. Very simple. He just had to get the kid back to where he belonged. And then after that, you don't really know where we stand. And, in the beginning of this, it was just about getting to Mandalore. He got to Mandalore. He, made things right with his clan. So now we're kind of in that same space again where we don't really know what the next step is. But to me, it looks like there's a lot that they can do because now you have this sort of like claim probably of who should be ruling over Mandalore, who should be uniting them.
Yeah, we'll get into that with the end.
Oh, you know what? Well, actually, because episode 3 is like basically 2 different episodes of a TV show. You have the Mandalorian bookends, and then you have an entirely different show happening in the middle.
If they are indeed separate.
Yeah, if they are, I mean, it has to all tie together. Because if it doesn't, then what the F are we doing, y'all? It has to tie together. But like I think we continue talking about all the Bo stuff because it has no connection right now to the Coruscant stuff. So we can continue through line.
I really like Katie Sackhoff's performance in these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I think she's doing a great job.
I love that we get to see her face so much.
And I think that the reason she doesn't bring up the mythosaur is because like she's processing that her brain has changed.
Yeah.
Like she has. This is arguably like the closest thing to a religious moment she's having, where
sort of a reawakening. Almost.
It's a reawakening of everything. Like she loved about Mandalore, and like she grew up on Mandalore, and she loved it, and she appreciated that her father loved all of this history and everything. But she never believed the mythosaur was really down there, and now she knows it is.
Yeah.
And this is changing her mindset about maybe how she looks at the Mandalorian stuff, and maybe like honoring the creed and their history and all this kind of stuff. And I dig that. I dig that like this encounter is shifting her mind about it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she left the helmet on so that she can like be brought in and everything.
But
here's my problem.
We're never seeing Katie Sackhoff ever again. I'm not joking. This is now if this is the Katie Sackhoff Pedro Pascal show where we will never see their faces until the season finale again.
I don't 100% believe that's true. But here's where I'll get into that. Because we'll talk about the ending of the 3rd episode then. So my thing is, I personally felt like, and I know you guys did too, because we talked about these shows, that in seasons 1 and 2, we're building a story where we're saying like, is this the watch really the way? Is it the way? Because like in many ways, there's an implication that the helmet is separating him from connecting with Grogu, that it is the deepening of that relationship with Grogu that allows him to metaphorically lower his armor and also then do it literally. And that lens could still be cast as a bad thing. And now I'm nervous that the show is heading in a direction where they're saying like, no, the point is for all the Mandalorians to get under the creed. And I'm like, is the creed right though? Because I feel like we've been saying the creed might not be.
That's what I was really worried about. Because Bo-Katan seems to be like buying into it. She seems to like you said, like her renewal of faith with the mythosaur, and seeing like, oh, these are a community, these are a people, and there's kids, like they're not all evil, right? They are people just like I am.
So prior to the 3rd episode, a lot of my belief was that where we're heading is for Bo-Katan and Din to kind of end up on the opposite side, on the outs with the armor and the watch, and needing to kind of break the idea of that stranglehold that this cult has on the Mandalorians.
Me too.
And I'm concerned that that's maybe not where we're going anymore, and that now we're going to know the armor and the watch are right. That is the way Mandalorians should be. They should always be with their helmets on and always living by this creed 100%. Whereas just like the Jedi and the Sith, there's always a better middle ground that we should discuss. And I felt like that's where we were heading. And I'm genuinely nervous that Jon Favreau and the rest of the team have turned completely around and decided, you know what? Just make them all like this.
That's exactly where I'm feeling.
And if that's where the story goes in the end, I will be disappointed.
Yeah, same.
I'm hoping that's not where we go. Because at the end of the episode, I interpreted the end of the episode as Bo-Katan she was kind of having a come to Jesus or a come to the way moment in a sense, because she saw the mythosaur. And yeah, because she saw the mythosaur. She saw something that she did not believe was down there. It is still alive, looked at her, said sup, and swam away. So her being there, putting the camera focusing on her and then the camera focusing on the mythosaur skull, she's having this maybe I should be walking. I'm looking forward to a conflicted Bo-Katan who does not agree with a bunch of the way or a bunch of the words of the creed, but she's conflicted as but I saw this thing. If I saw this thing, then this should be real, but I don't agree with how these rules are. I mean, that's at least what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Because she's starting to get converted, but maybe she'll be pulled back before the final rites. But I guess technically she's now part of the covet. So yeah, good for her.
And I think that's what has me. Sorry, Forrest, real quick. No. I think that's what has me nervous that this is where they're turning the story, is to abandon Bo-Katan, not falling completely under that, is because it does feel like they've trapped the character into this position where now these are the only people who want to be Mandalorian with her because all the others abandoned her. Which, again, I think is stupid. Yeah. I think it's a stupid point to pick up this season after the end of the previous one.
Yep.
But that's what they did, is they set up this idea that now Bo-Katan has been abandoned by the people who are standing with her. Now she's alone, isolated. Oh, this is a perfect time for a cult to come in and accept you. But I'm genuinely worried that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have stopped looking at this as a cult, which is entirely how I've been reading them up to this point.
I want to bounce off that, but I know you're about to say something. So
well, no, it's in the same ballpark, because the thing is that it does seem like we're focusing mainly on this one group, where we haven't really even seen much of the other Mandalorians that have been with Bo-Katan. And when we kind of get back into the whole idea that Mandalore isn't a habitable planet again, it did kind of raise an interesting possible conflict that we think the show might be going towards. You got two separate groups of Mandalorians who think they have these two separate beliefs and could possibly have some kind of civil war with,
which they already did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which has already happened before.
Yes. So, I mean, I, of course, even though it's happened before, I would like to see that again in live action. If they don't go that route, that's fine. But still, it does make you kind of wonder, which group they want to focus on more.
I am in agreement with Sparkz, where I am worried that, the watch actually is the way. And, don't worry about everything they've done in the past and how they used to be and whatever. It's not just fine. It's all the way. But, hopefully there will be conflict, and hope maybe Bo, because she's in a negative space right now. Her, being a part of this new community, she's got rose tinted glasses, so she sees only the good. But once she starts spending time with them, she will realize they are a cult. The things they do are not good for the Mandalorians. And then there will be a built-in animosity. Then there could be a civil war. Maybe half of them won't leave or anything, but Bo and Din will leave. And then there will be conflict. But I don't know if the show will be good enough to actually do that. That's why that's the hard thing to do.
I think it's important to remember, and I mean this for the team that's making the show too, that it's important for them to remember, and I hope they do, that most of the watch at this point is foundlings and not Mandalorians, not people born on Mandalore.
Yeah.
And Bo-Katan comes from, and her group that we saw last time, they were Mandalorians. They were people who were born on Mandalore, raised in Mandalore. And you can talk about different class stuff, and you can talk about different belief systems and everything, but there is something to be said for the fact that the Watch is mostly made up of foundlings who have just bought into this creed rather than like growing up in it.
Yeah.
And you kind of brought an interesting point up again when you were explaining the ideas of how, that you're worried that, it's stepping away from the idea that this group is a cult. It also it can possibly do some damage to the Mandalorian's character himself, because what I really loved about the second season is that they made him question his own creed, and he made the decision to backtrack some of their beliefs to save Grogu.
Yeah.
But now all of that work is being undone again. And I don't know if I can keep taking this flip-flop where he buys into the creed again. So is it going to have another conflict where he decides to drop it? Or?
That's a great point, because that was a concern I had when we were in Book of Boba Fett, and he was like, "Oh, I'm exiled. Well, what if I just go to the living waters? Then I won't be exiled." And I'm like, "Oh, bro, I mean, after this season, couldn't you consider maybe not being part of this group?"
Even before that, he was already
hasn't Boba Fett and Bo-Katan both shown you that you can just successful do that?
You can just be a person.
He was already kind of a lone wolf. I mean, other than seeing the armor every now and then, he didn't. It wasn't hanging out with that group was a normal thing that he did regularly.
No, it was. No. The first season, he took all his bounty hunting jobs to get Beskar from the Empire that's true. To bring back to the Watch.
That's right.
That's entirely 1,000% what he was doing until he met Grogu, and then things started changing.
That's true. Yeah. Man, so much has happened since season 1. It's crazy.
Yep. Part of me is kind of hoping that there is a conflict for Mandalore. Obviously, like Forrest said, Mandalore is a habitable planet again. They know the planet's not poisoned. People can go down there. They can breathe the air. It's not completely screwed over. I'm hoping that there is conflict between Children of the Watch and other Mandalorians. They're like, cool, we could go back home. And they're like, yeah, but you have to follow our rules. And they're like, no, maybe, but who knows what's going to happen? I honestly have no idea. That scientist guy, that guy just can't catch a break, can he?
Pen Pershing? Oh, you mean the Nazi scientist?
Trying to do good, but falling back in his own ways. But yeah. Dude, are we done with the Mandalorian stuff? Do we want to talk about the scientist guy?
No, we can talk about the science man.
Let's talk about the scientist, the Coldplay song.
I really like his TED Talk, where he's explaining that all his cloning belief system came out of, if we could just, rather than cloning a whole person, clone organs.
An organ, yeah.
We could save lives, lots of lives. And that was the main thing my work was based on. And I like that. I like that this is the kind of stuff I do want to see in Star Wars. Is this kind of yes, it is weird that the Kaminoans are the only ones who did major cloning, and then nobody else was going to do anything with it outside of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of still him. It's always him kind of spearheading this kind of idea of what the cloning would be. Nobody else thought, oh, cloning. What else could we do with that?
Yeah.
And this is a really nice, cool, sensible take. Again, speaking to people. It's not stated that the Doctor lives in the Outer Rim. I'm not even going to say he did. But he does say that his planet didn't have access to the resources that could have saved her life that probably other planets did.
Yeah.
And one of those things is the ability to clone organs. And I think that's a really good angle to take on this guy.
Yeah. I think Pen Pershing, he's an interesting character. My issue with this episode isn't so much the character itself. I just found the episode, when I first saw that it was an hour long, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. The longest episode of The Mandalorian. Look at that, full hour. I'm like, well, not really. It's 10 minutes of a Mandalorian episode and then 30 minutes of another show and then 10 more minutes of The Mandalorian. I'm like, okay, cool. But then the story with him in the Thrawn Empire girl, again, I'm thinking of Andor and how that entire plot would have been 3 episodes where we learn so much about them and we learn about their histories and we get so much to chew on. And it feels so surface level. And it's 30 minutes where I feel like we're not going to get much more of this doctor guy. He was brought in here to be taken out of the show because he had all the information about cloning and now they took him out of the show. So I'm like, what? There's no point for him to be in the show anymore because all the information that was important is gone. So I'm like, was was the point just to throw him out of here? Like, what did we need to come back to this cloning thing at all? Was it even important? I'm just like, I need to see the rest of the season, but I'm just like, this is the Mandalorian, right? Like, why are we?
One thing,
and I thought the pacing of the episode was also like kind of slow, to be honest. Like, it wasn't meaty enough for how much time we were spending with these characters not doing a lot. Again, this isn't Andor, unfortunately. I don't, I like the ideas being presented, but I thought the execution, a lot of it was there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do wonder, and Forrest can speak to this because Forrest hasn't watched the Andor yet. I do wonder if we didn't have Andor, if we'd be that harsh on this episode, or if we would like praise it for presenting interesting angles on Star Wars we haven't engaged with. For me, like the amnesty program, doing that and exploring that as this New Republic idea, I'm like, this is shit I want to know about. This is shit I do want to explore. I really like this. Again, I really like this take because this is a person who genuinely wants to do good for the New Republic, felt like he was trapped by the system of the Empire.
Yeah.
And that makes him easy bait. And it also does paint how like systems kind of repeat themselves in their senses of oppression and how they make people want to get out of it. Because we have the New Republic and what they're doing is not the best.
They suck.
They've taken people's names. They're making them, live this. They are just completely boneheadedly wiping away resources that have been funded into technology that is like, yes, it was Imperial, but can it be reused?
Yeah.
Just gutting it, destroying it.
The New Republic are a bunch of boneheads. They're dumb. I do like that they're showing how inept they are, and like, we don't want to be anything like the Empire. We don't want to use. We don't even want to use anything they use.
Overcorrection.
It's an overcorrection. It's like it's after history. It's after the American Revolution, and then we didn't have a grandstanding army. We just had a militia. So like when bad shit happened, like who do we call on? Fred and his brother. Because we didn't have an army for our new country.
No, it's a great point.
It kind of also highlights a few other like examples of how certain people still stay in power no matter what kind of authority is over them. Those two characters that came to talk to him after, like,
very Last Jedi.
Yeah, we were here like during the Empire, but the Empire, the Republic.
It's all the same.
I will say you really should watch Andor because this is a through line that they have built in, like, pretty much now going back from the prequel storyline because of Andor all the way up into Last Jedi, right? The wealthy are always unaffected by what power is changing in the war. They are always out of the loop and above it and profiting from it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And I really love that line. I do love that exchange where it's like the Rebel Alliance, the Empire, the New Republic. Who keeps track? Who cares? We try not to get involved.
That dude had such a punchable face. I'm like, you got the perfect actor to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's all the same to me.
and that's the kind of thing, like, again, yes, it's done much more thoroughly and better in Andor. That's true. I don't deny that, but I'm glad that we're still doing something like this in general in Star Wars. I do want it explored in this time period, and I'm glad that the Mandalorian feels like they can deviate into these corners still, because I think in a world where I didn't just have Andor, I would be very, very hot on like everything that they're giving me about these political ideas.
But see, I think
and
all
implications for the moment.
All the ideas are cool. But again, like, I want to see them more explored because it's very like a one sentence, like, that sounds interesting.
Yes.
And I feel with, again, how many episodes we have left in this season, we're not going to go back to it in a significant way because, again, the character that we followed, he's not important anymore. So there's no reason to go back to this plot at all.
No, it's a very tragic end for his character.
Yeah.
And I think that's very sad. But I do think like it has introduced a corner of the world that I'm not going to say the Mandalorian is going to revisit this season. But what I will say is I do think that this is not unimportant to Ahsoka, to where we are going with the general overall idea of what's happening in the New Republic right now.
Yeah.
With Thrawn, with the people in the Outer Rim like Cobb Vanth and Greef Karga. I do think that this is all, God, I hope, but I do think this is all feeding into that idea of like, why is political distrust so weak in the New Republic that eventually the First Order comes up and kind of nobody can really do anything about it and nobody bats an eye.
And my big fear is that they're trying to do all this stuff and there's no way they're going to do it in 4 episodes of The Mandalorian.
No. Right.
That's my thing. It's like,
sure. And I don't think they will, but I don't think this is going to be, here is the part I agree on. the thing that I don't think is good about this episode is that at the end of the episode, we do have to sit here and kind of wonder who was she working for, the girl from Gideon's ship, because it's not clear. It's not clear why she does what she does or how she benefits from it directly. We are not given enough information about her in this episode to make that story clear, to make it clear what we're going towards and what they're setting up with her. And I agree that is a flaw, but the stuff with the Doctor and the NFC program, I think that is just opening a door to stuff we are going to explore, and I have no qualms with that.
Sure.
It is the confusion around her involvement that I think is the real problem.
When it ends up that she just works for Moff Gideon.
Because they do kind of like allude to the idea that, oh, he's captured? Oh, no, I think I heard he got away. Or
did she, and again, this is a character who like has appeared in the other seasons, but like has barely. This is the most presence she's ever had, like as this character, right? She's always kind of just been like a mean looking face in the background.
Yeah.
So like them showing us that she worked directly for Gideon, and then this is the episode where she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm done with that guy." I just don't think the Mandalorian will be a good enough thing to make it that like. I still think Thrawn is involved, but I also still think Gideon's involved.
May I get slightly big brain about it?
Get big brain.
There's no reason to assume that Thrawn isn't trying to grab Gideon.
Yeah.
My hope that Thrawn is involved, I'm trying to keep it low, because the thing is that in my mind, I'm still thinking Thrawn is going to be something that's directly with the Ahsoka series. I want him to be involved in the Mandalorian. I really do. After seeing the space whale, though, and kind of alluding to the idea that there's another commander out there.
But there's no reason to think the Mandalorian isn't building the Thrawn stuff, because they have already said that the things happening in Mandalorian and the things happening in Ahsoka are going to be building to a similar conclusion of things coming together. It was also going to include Rangers of the New Republic in that story, but that series isn't getting made anymore. But those things are pointing to this same endpoint. Where they're going to cross into each other, and that endpoint has to be Thrawn. And I say it has to be because Thrawn's name was mentioned on Mandalorian.
Screen.
Granted, it was by Ahsoka, and she's getting her own show, but it happened in the Mandalorian. It was implied that things that are affecting his life are being affected by Thrawn. We do see the space whale in the season, and if you know, you know. And that is a tee up for Thrawn. I do not think it is unreasonable. They also do make specific mention of the fact that the amount of TIE interceptors and fighters that are out there is unusual.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And again, it doesn't make sense for a version of people who are for an empire that has fallen apart.
Yeah.
So it really does feel like this is pointing in a direction of Thrawn. It will be very
100%.
disappointing if that isn't true, but it makes more sense. And again, like it makes more sense in the context. Like I wish they gave us more information, but I cannot figure out why the New Republic people let her get in front of him, pick up the box and walk away, and then hold guns on him. And then later are talking about it like she didn't do anything. She didn't set him up or anything, unless those people are also working for Thrawn.
I mean, that is like his whole MO.
That is his thing. He's the smartest guy.
He is the big brain Star Wars character. Yeah.
If anyone could pull it off, it'd be Thrawn.
The thing that I... Go ahead, man.
I just know Thrawn by reputation. I haven't seen any of his episodes. I just know him. That's all I know. I just know him by reputation. I know he's a force to be reckoned with. I know that his appearance in Rebels made everyone super happy. And I mean, I'm behind the Rebels, but I'm down to see Thrawn in Mandalorian. That would be such an awesome pull.
Yeah.
That if Moff Gideon gets out from wherever he is and is thrown at Thrawn's feet, that would be so rad.
The thing that I'm rubbing up against, I think, is, you know, the MCU, and you watch Captain America, and then you watch Iron Man, and then you watch, and those are separate things. It feels like the Mandalorian. It's like we're telling 3 different stories at the same time, and I just don't know which trigger the ending will be on. Like, will the final episode focus on all the Mandalorian stuff they're building up? Will it focus on the pirate stuff they're building up? Will it focus on the Coruscant stuff they're building up? Like, I don't want to have to think about, the next season they'll pay this off. I'm looking at this as a season. This is season 3 of The Mandalorian. Was this a self-complete? Can I watch this on its own and it'll be great? And like, right now, I don't think so. And like, I know our whole thing is about like, looking for the future and talking about the whole universe, but like, just this season alone was like, I'm just like, maybe it's the MCU. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe.
That's the one word.
Directionless. Yeah, there's too many directions. Yeah.
I got one more episode in my head to set the course.
Yeah.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. But when you say they're trying to tell like 3 different stories at once, I could argue Andor tried to tell multiple stories at once. But the thing is, Andor knew what it was doing when they told those multiple stories at once. Like you have the stuff with Mon Mothma, you have the stuff with Luthen, and of course you have the stuff with Cassian Andor.
That's true.
all
of those stories tie in.
It's a great point too. I just want to back you up, Ben. It's a great point too that Mothma's. It's not like we see Mothma with Luthen by the end of once we've seen them together, but we don't see them together for like the whole back half of that season.
Yeah,
Mothma's doing her own thing that we know where it's heading, but she's pretty much almost on her own for a lot of it, as far as like other characters in the story. And like it doesn't feel listless because we know who Mothma is, so we know where it's going in a general sense.
Yes.
But if we didn't have that information, it would feel like, why are we spending so much time with this lady? But
it all feeds into each other,
right? And
whereas this season
it's more definitely handled in Andor and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, I agree. I go ahead with your point, Ben. I just meant to back you up on that.
No, appreciate it. But when you look at especially the last 2 episodes of the most recent 2 episodes of Mandalorian, episodes 2 and 3, like I liked as if the story of the scientist was on its own, as like it was its own separate thing. I will admit, I was intrigued. I wanted to see what happened because I do remember him from the first season of Mandalorian. I do remember him popping up, him being a cloner, and him saying that, "Oh, I got into cloning because my mom passed away, and there was a way to save her, but my planet didn't have the resources." I get it. That's good motivation. That's a good reason as to why he got roped into the Empire, because he could save his family. He could save people. That's how they hooked him. And him trying to do good for the New Republic is like, hey, this can help people. That's what you want, right? At the same time, I'm going to use the argument that I used with Boba Fett. The show was called The Mandalorian. Why are we focusing on the scientist? Unless it pays off big time later down the line, awesome. But right now, I kind of don't care. I care what happens in Mandalore. I care what's going through Bo-Katan's head. I care what's happening with all the Mandalorians on that planet and the future of the planet of Mandalore. Obviously, we're going to get it, but also I know we're also going to get a daydream or a flashback of Order 66. And to be quite honest, I don't want another goddamn Order 66 flashback. We have so many of those forget things already.
I'll only accept it if it's with Anakin and he's the one killing all those people. Then I'll be.
Importantly, I think the only reason to show more of the Order 66 stuff is because we did see a flashback in Book of Boba Fett with Grogu. That's true.
Yes,
but we still don't know who got him.
Who saved him? Mace Windu with his one arm.
Oh,
Grogu, we gotta go.
That would be cool. That Sam Jackson coming back to Mace Windu, that would be like, okay.
Y'all, if this all boiled down to a one-armed Mace Windu having to face off with Thrawn.
How far have what a show.
Whoa.
Good Lord.
You know what? Worth that would be worth it.
I hear your point for sure about the Mandalorian and all that. I think that like exploring this corner of the world is worth doing at this point in time, like this period of time in the galaxy
that we haven't explored
yet. And I don't know how you do it unless it's either on this show or it's on the Ahsoka show.
And or the show that got canceled.
Yeah, right. It would be on Rangers of the Republic, and like it's not gonna be. Yeah. But I do think like it's worthwhile to invest in this story. I just don't think, again, I truly believe that if we understood who she's doing this for by the end of the episode, I think we'd all be a little bit more positive on it, because that is the part that leaves us with questions, right? We don't know what direction that's going because we don't know why she did it.
And Ryan, if I may, before you go jump in, I know you want to say something.
No, you're good.
I will say this wholeheartedly, and I mean this. I pray to goodness I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I want to be completely wrong. I am hoping to high heaven that at the end of the season, I will be singing a completely different tune. They'll be like, you know what? Episodes 1 through 3, maybe a little bit of a slow burn, but once you get to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, damn, that's some fine television. I'm not expecting Andor level of quality because, unfortunately, I know the track record of Jon Favreau and, unfortunately, Dave Filoni. I like the man, but as of late, he's kind of wavering a little bit. But if it gets to that, hell yeah, I'm in. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm back and I am like head first ready to go for Mandalorian like I was when I first saw the show. When I first saw when I watched season 1. I love season 1. And I really love season 2.
Yeah.
And I want that part of me kind of wants that magic again.
It's what I felt in episode 2 with just a monster. I was like, cool, this Mando doing Mando shit, and Baby Grogu's got to save him. Loved it.
Yeah, episode both of these episodes, as much as I like as episode 3 gets me thinking about the future, but as an episode but as a whole, I love episode 2. So far, episode 2 is my favorite of the season. I mean, partially by default, but also because it deals with Mandalore lore. Excuse the pun.
Mandalore, yeah.
Yeah, pun not intended, but it deals with what happened after the purge. We see flashbacks of TIE bombers bombing the ever-loving crap out of the planet.
Yeah. I do 100% agree with you, Sparkz. Like, I do want all this stuff explored. I'm just wondering, did we need to spend almost an entire episode of The Mandalorian following a character who you just, like, basically kill off?
No, I get you.
Because, like, they set that character up, and, like, are you telling me that all of the cloning stuff that they were setting up is now we're just ignoring that plot from the last couple?
It can't be, right?
That's
this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing is, like, again, it goes back to the girl.
Yeah.
It's because we don't know why she does it, right? Like, we don't know who she's picking up that box for. She had him collect those supplies for a reason. We just don't know what that reason is. He picked up, they must have enough of his information about his research, just not knowing what the resources were that they needed.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, like, because I'm like, whatever they're doing, whatever they're planning, they want to use what he was doing to some extent, but for some reason they don't need his brain for it anymore, but they clearly needed him to pick out the materials because they take the box.
Yeah.
How do you guys think Moff Gideon and Thrawn, are they at all entangled in this at all?
I think if there's anything, I think Gideon got captured by the New Republic, but if let's say that all those guys we see with her at the end of this episode, let's say those are all Thrawn's people that Thrawn has put into the New Republic because he's been seeding his way into it, then he absolutely has someone who could get in and get Gideon out for him.
Yeah.
And I would not be shocked. She might be there on Gideon's recommendation working for Thrawn. Now, those two might have come together. That would not shock me. Because, like, here's the thing. Once Luke Skywalker entered the scene, Gideon realized the Empire was sunk.
Once you see him free lightsaber.
And I think that, like, once Thrawn comes in and says, I have a different vision, Gideon is the kind of man I can see buy into that. Yeah. Especially with Thrawn. Thrawn and Gideon as a duo makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. We all assumed that all this cloning shit was to do the Snoke stuff, right? To help alleviate Rise of Skywalker.
I hope it's not that.
No, but it probably was. But I just don't think that's what we're doing anymore.
So
like, the
that's
cloning
the
thing
question.
is still happening.
Yes.
Right?
But now what are we doing with
what
it?
will be the First Order one day was still doing that.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about something else.
But here's
if this is Thrawn, this is Thrawn taking these resources and this information to do something else.
But the Emperor still gets the cloning stuff right, though, and he does the clone Snoke stuff, though.
Yeah, but
so he has to get the.
But that doesn't mean he needed this. Doesn't mean this was the only guy that could do it. This was just the guy they had at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These things don't need to be connected now because we know that they had a lab where they were working on cloning Snoke anyway.
Yeah.
Part of what he was doing, and he explains it, was blending DNA from two different things, right? He was trying to make Palpatine more powerful by getting the DNA from Grogu.
He's a eugenicist. He's Mr. Sinister.
Right. Now, apply that same idea. Thrawn wants Force power.
Army of Force users, maybe.
No, just Thrawn. Thrawn is powerful in every way except not with the Force.
Oh, he doesn't even need the Force. He's that mentally capable.
Maybe he thought that way before he faced Ezra and got sucked through a space whale.
Dude, could you imagine? He was trapped with him for 20 years, and he's just like, I hate this kid. Oh my god!
Like, I'm just saying. I think there's a lot of possibilities for why Thrawn and Gideon might want this in their own direction for their own purposes now. That doesn't mean this clone thing is. It was what he was doing was building up to the Snoke stuff. It still would be there. They still have a lot of foundations of his research.
Yeah.
It's just not what the story's about anymore. Now it's about something else.
Yeah.
In theory, if we want to go with this idea, which I think makes more sense than anything else, that Thrawn is getting involved in this stuff, that he has seeped his way into the New Republic because he's got guys who are in the New Republic but working for him, 100%. That makes a ton of sense to me. Think of him like the kingpin for Star Wars, Ben.
Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to bounce off that, I think you raise a good point, because the other thing to remember is that this is why I hope that the cloning thing isn't really anything to do with Snoke. This is the Mandalorian show, and they've been teasing this Mandalorian stuff from the very first episode. That's the whole reason Grogu was in the show, because they were using him for research for cloning. I don't want that to be a segue into why we have Snoke in fucking Rise of Skywalker.
No, I know.
Yeah, I just don't care about that. What I want to know is what they're building towards with him.
They really did everything they needed to do, right? Like, we knew the cloning thing was happening, and now we know that the Empire was actively working on it. It was something Palpatine wanted. That's it, right? The connective tissue to Rise of Skywalker exists. They don't need to explore it anymore in this show. But what could Thrawn want from that research? Is it even necessarily that Thrawn does want cloning specifically? Maybe he does want just the clone and organ thing.
What if the dude literally just needs like a liver transplant because he's dying and he's like, I just need a new heart.
And he's the last of his species.
He's the last Chiss. He also sold out his own species.
Oh my god.
He's the last Chiss.
That's
right.
Literally just needs to clone himself.
What if he just needs a new liver? There's no dialysis machines in Star Wars. He needs.
So this is my point. Is that, like, I don't think this is a useless episode. I think they just didn't give us enough information to know what direction it's heading.
Yeah.
But I do think at some point we're going to know what all this is for. I don't think this was meaningless. I think this is like the Doctor stuff and all of that, and filling in on how the New Republic is operating right now, especially with this amnesty, this dystopian idea, how people can be uncomfortable with it, how Thrawn can sway people to think, the New Republic, not really the answer either.
Yeah.
I think all that's going to come into play. I think we just have to wait and see how that's going to play out.
The thing that because like obviously Thrawn like can't be here for like episode 7, so like it's the thing of like I'm thinking of Clone Wars and like how much Darth Maul is in the Clone Wars, and like when you think of Darth Maul, you like regular people just know him from one movie,
right? And
how much like he is so essential to the Clone Wars. And I'm like, they really could do so much shit with Thrawn if they like in this Mandalorian if they wanted to. Yeah. And I'm like, that's cool, that's great. I hope that also ties together with all the Mandalorian shit you're trying to build.
Why wouldn't it? He loves pillaging old races and getting all their history and shit.
He does. Oh, he would love a Darksaber. He would collect the shit out of a Darksaber.
He would collect the shit out of a Darksaber.
He would look really badass holding that saber.
Yeah, I guess. My closing thoughts are, I just hope it doesn't. You are right, Ben, about how like Andor, like this is a show telling multiple stories. I just don't see the connective tissue yet. It doesn't feel connected at all. It feels like a bunch of different things are happening and we'll eventually get to a point where they cross. It doesn't feel natural to me.
Sure.
But there's still great things about all these episodes. It's not every episode has value for sure.
I love the introduction of this amnesty program crap. I think that's so like messed up.
It's Operation Paperclip.
We didn't even touch on it. Oh, it's one of my favorite things. The peak of the highest mountain in all of Coruscant. It's the only place on the planet where you can see the planet that was underneath the city.
That was awesome.
What an awesome touch.
That was cool.
They're playing some classic music from like the first time we go to Coruscant in episode 1. Under that, like it's a new version, but it's the same music melody that John Williams wrote, and I was like,
Coruscant,
this is kind of cool, guys. This is kind of good.
Coruscant's never looked better. Like we see like the same, like we see like this, like the old Senate room and like the stairs they used, like we saw in the prequels. Like, man, like look at that place. It's gone through so many revolutions. So much shit has happened. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
will also, for my final thoughts, I will also agree. There are great stuff in all the episodes. Even episode 1, while not my favorite, there's still some good stuff in there.
Bad baby.
Well, not just him, but the dogfight scene was great. But unlike, like, once again, Andor, the pieces are separate, but they all affect one another in some way, shape, or form. Whereas with Mandalorian, everything may meet at a perpendicular point, but as of right now, all separate storylines are so far apart, it's really hard to see the line that gets them to all meet. But once again, this is still early. This is episode 3, but like Ryan said, we're almost halfway done with this season because we're only getting 8 episodes. So there's a lot of room to cover, and part of me is really scared that they're not going to be able to do it. Or at least they're going to do a little bit of it and then set up for more for the next season. While I'm not the biggest fan of that, at the same time, if what I get at the end of season 3 gets me hyped, it's like, okay, everything in the earlier season was worth it. I would still say it's a good season, but as of right now, I would still say it's too early to tell. I will also say I did enjoy myself watching this. I was really excited. But one other thing I want to mention really quick. when we got to the episode of the Doctor, and I talked to a friend of mine at work who's also an avid Star Wars watcher. He and I love chatting about episodes when they come out. He came up to me and said, "Yo, who was the scientist guy? I don't remember him."
Well, he's in the recap. I can't help you more than that, buddy.
and I told him, I was like, "No, he was in the first season. He was the scientist guy." And then he was like, "I don't remember." And then he finally did remember.
I want the baby.
Yeah, he was also in the recap. So part of me is like, maybe try to fix, maybe not like, don't bring in characters that only were in a few scenes, because obviously this character has ideas and he's going to be important farther down the line. But at the same time, a lot of Casey casuals, they're not going to realize what the heck is going on.
I disagree. I don't think the Doctor is going to be important. I think his story.
Yeah, they scrambled his brain.
I think his story is over. Yeah, he's not.
Right.
He's out of the picture.
Yeah, I think that's on purpose.
I love. She is important now.
God, I love the sinister use of the ration biscuits too.
Oh, the
yeah. The way she uses that on him to get him on board.
And
then she's eating one as she's watching him melt.
Again, like you didn't watch Andor, but like there's a really really scary interrogation scene where they use this new technology to interrogate people, and it drives them insane. And then like the New Republic has a version of that, but it's like, no, it's not the same thing. It's the same thing. It's even got the same knob. You just don't worry about it. We're not the Empire.
Oh god.
You have
I did like how just like bubbling that guy was.
You have a Mon Calamari saying, "I went through the procedure myself and it was quite pleasant. You're gonna see some bright colors, you're gonna see all this, you're gonna be fine."
No.
I did like
it was a trap.
Oh my god.
That was great.
Oh yeah.
Then it just closes in on him. It's like
Yeah. I truly think the flaw is that we just don't know who she's aligned with.
Too many questions.
And like why she did what she did.
Too many questions, not fun questions.
That question should have been answered, or at least given,
hinted.
Even if it's not the full answer, at least given a clear indication of what direction it's going. Because like you could have said it was for Gideon and not told us that like for Gideon also means for Thrawn.
Yeah.
You could have done that. But like just give us a point of like why this was happening, and I think that would have solved a lot of the problems with this episode, because I don't think it's a bad thing that the Doctor's one and done. I don't think it's a bad thing that we used him, because in one way it's also kind of saying like, hey, that cloning thing, we're kind of done with it in the way you thought we were.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing either. So I'm pretty positive on that. We didn't touch on it that much, but Bo-Katan's ship is awesome.
Oh, it might be my favorite
it's
Star Wars
translated
ship.
super well from Clone Wars, as
Hell
Ryan
yeah.
pointed out to me off screen. It looks great. Love it in the dogfight at the top of episode 3. Freaking love that
great
ship.
Again, multiple great dogfights this season so far. Always looks good. The volume always makes space look really cool. Love it. Forrest, any final thoughts on Mando season 3?
Overall, I agree with most of the stuff that was said here. I'm really hoping that the show kind of gets a better direction where it's heading. But that being said, even looking back in every episode, I wasn't bored. I was interested in what was going on, and I was really engaged on where are we going with this. And I wasn't bored with all the stuff, even with the Doctor. I did think it was interesting. I do wish I had other stuff that I could be seeing, because this is the Mandalorian show. But I'm not bored.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the next one. And I just got to say, the special effects, even though the special effects of the whole show have been good, so far just from the 3 episodes, the special effects have been immaculately better, which is really saying something.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Finish your thought.
I was just going to say the monster that came out of the lake in the first episode, there were frames where I looked at it and I'm like, the CGI has gotten so good, I could actually believe that. Actually, I don't know. Maybe parts of it were practical. Yeah. Maybe parts of it were CGI. I can't tell anymore.
It looked great.
It's getting to that point.
I will say that there were some shots, not many, but a few, on Coruscant that looked pretty rough.
Yeah.
And especially compared to Andor, where everything looked immaculate and they built sets.
Yeah.
And then it was really like only a couple. I think the one that stands out to me is when they're like showing the shot of the Doctor after they jump off the train, and they're like showing the background behind him, and I'm like, that just looks fake. That just looks like a fake wall of like blurry background stuff. Like it just looked bad.
There were a couple, and it doesn't like take you out of the show, but definitely like when they're in the under Mines of Mandalore, and it's just like 2 people walking in a giant empty corridor. I'm like, oh, I could yeah. Those are people on a green screen. Or like they're yeah, that's a big empty I felt a lot of that like Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like you can just tell sometimes. I'm like, yeah, those are just people in a room.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I was talking mainly about the monster effects.
Sure.
Not
Yeah.
the sets.
No, but you brought it up, and it made me think of it because I didn't want to spotlight that. I thought Coruscant looked good, pretty good most of the time, and then occasionally like, ooh,
that cyborg monster looked awesome.
Yeah, it did.
His bio eye, loved it.
Much to Forrest's point, like sometimes when the big mech suit body was walking, I was like, is that a Phil Tippett real effect?
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
It kind of moves like one.
At the end, when you see his final form and he has like the little, it turns into basically John Carpenter's The Thing, where the little head grows spider legs, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
That's what it was.
Yeah, 100%. I knew that's I felt it.
That second episode had so many good like other horror movies.
It was really spooky.
Yeah,
it was really good. I love that like the show can be as big and bombastic as it wants. There's a part of me that wishes it felt just like a comic book, and it's like, it could have a bigger story, but it's just a lot of fun monster stuff. Yeah. And there is a Mandalorian comic book, y'all, but guess what? It's just retelling the show. It's literally beat for beat retelling the show because the first issue is on Marvel Unlimited. And I'm like, this could have been an opportunity to tell side stories and just have fun.
Well, that'll be a really important point for people when it gets to like the Book of Boba Fett time period, and then they can just read the comic.
Oh God.
A last thought. I am really excited to explore the Mandalore stuff, and I'm also really excited to explore all this political strife that they're setting up for this time period, whether it's on Coruscant or it's in the Outer Rim.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Really like what's on the table here. I just hope that like what's on the table here has enough to feast on and ends up being a satisfying meal.
Yeah. And if you want your episodes to be an hour long, because like that first episode's like 30 minutes, and then the third one's like an hour, and I'm like,
Mandalorian's never been consistent with their time.
I know, but I just like, I wish you were. I just wish you were.
I don't know.
The last Andor was consistent.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
consistently hot. Last of Us also had 1.5 hour episodes.
Right.
They were never short.
That's true. It would dip down to like 48 at the lowest.
Yeah, that's listen. You got the 22 standard, the 44 with commercials. Listen, give me a hot.
Like 48 and then an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot of meat. Speaking of meat, Ben, do you want to? I don't know.
Here, I can do some wrap up.
We all did final thoughts?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, cool, beautiful.
Just touching on that. We just recently finished our discussion on Fake Nerds Watch here on The Last of Us, which was a great show that maybe Ben will watch in the year 2028.
Hey, y'all, if you want to watch a show about Pedro Pascal escorting a young one across a place, watch The Last of Us.
It's really good.
It's incredible.
Believe the hype. You can't overhype it.
It's good.
Honestly.
Yeah.
The Last of Us is an incredible show.
Yeah.
I hope Ben watches it before the end of the year.
It's got 9 months.
And that is what we're doing on Fake Nerds Watch. Plus Brandon's doing Picard over there with Cookie. That's going real well, to my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
On the Fake Nerd podcast feed, we are, at the time that this is coming out, either about to or have already talked about Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Shazam!
And then after that, we are talking about John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh.
So get excited, friends. There's a lot of movie stuff going on right now.
Oh, the hype.
Right around this time, though I'm really genuinely at this moment unsure of when it comes out. The Real Score will have launched, so look out for that. That is a new show where we talk about film scores, hosted by Brandon, myself, and our friend Jeremy Vellucci, who does the music for these episodes.
A real musician.
Ben, you got some Basement Arcade pause menu that's come out recently, and you've got another one in the pipeline coming up soon. You just did a conversation about the 3DS, and then you got another one coming out.
Better yet, at the time of this recording, I recorded another one this morning. So I got two in the pipeline.
Look at that consistent scheduling. Like roughly every 2 weeks, Ben's got a new pause menu that'll come out. So that's going real good. Expect a quarterly from us soon. We're wrapping up March. So
oh my God,
that'll be happening as well.
Oh my God, March is almost over.
Madness.
Oh God.
I know, it's wild. Sometime in the near future, probably hopefully soon, you're going to be seeing our Fake Nerds Awards categories for voting. So please go do that, because we are having our Fake Nerds Awards again. It's going to be a really great time. So check all that out. There's a lot of stuff. Check it all out here on the channel. Check out our Twitter to get all the information about what we're doing. You can find me just trying to keep everything afloat right now at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
You can find me keeping things afloat in the living waters with a mythosaur at DJ Tony Snark 616.
You could find me just taking breathing out of both nostrils, not taking breathing for both nostrils for granted ever again at BenMagnet27 on Instagram, Twitter.
What?
TikTok.
I'm sorry.
Try that again, Ben.
Can you re-roll the dice on that one?
Yeah. I've had a cold for the past few days. It's hard to breathe out of my nose. It sucks. I can't breathe. It's
understood.
I just want to breathe normal. I won't take it for granted ever again. That's what I'm trying to say.
At BenMagnet27.
At BenMagnet27 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com.
Fantastic. And Forrest, where can people find you?
People can find me just vibing on Instagram at Forrest 35mm.
Oh, that's his real Instagram. There you go, everybody. All right. We'll catch you next time. Until then, hopefully we'll be back with more Mandalorian, maybe in 2 episodes, maybe in 3. We're not 100% sure. Kind of depends how those episodes go, but we'll be back with Brandon right here at Fake Nerds Watch. So until then, stay fake nerds.
Hey!